What's happening, y'all? Hope everybody's well. Thank you so much for joining me. And today is what? Tuesday the something? I know it's Tuesday. I'm certain of that. 13th, maybe? I don't know. Whatever. Is it even Tuesday? Maybe it's Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday. Good God. Anyway, let's get to work. Okay, try to do these every day. Share some new insights I'm picking up along the way. Crazy thing happened on Clubhouse yesterday, which is increasingly addicting. By the way, who knows what will happen with this thing? So many questions around the topic of Clubhouse. Is it going to replace this or that or the other? The answer, in my opinion, is no. It's not going to replace anything, but it is a pretty good feeder system for other platforms. Like somebody sees you on Clubhouse, if you're able to help or contribute, then maybe they'll go check you out on YouTube or listen to your podcast or check out your Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And it's also a great place to pick up insights about what's going on in the mind of your customer, which we've talked about before. So yesterday, I got pinged into a room that was about, I'm totally forgetting the title of it now. It was called like the future of e-commerce or something like that, And so it was about people with e-com stores, people who sell stuff, right? Like t-shirts and makeup and et cetera. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get pinged into this thing and listen. I might learn me something. And the moderators were like ridiculously accomplished people, So there was a dude on there. Man, I can't remember his company. Nice guy too, out of Portland. But I think it was he and his wife had bootstrapped this particular e-commerce brand up and then sold it for like a gazillion dollars, kitchen table success story, right? Sold it for like a gazillion dollars, and now they're like venture capitalists. And then there was this other lady in there who's an angel investor, which means she obviously did something right to get enough money to be an angel investor. And it was like, I think she had built a brand or something and then sold it. And then there was another lady that had done something like 50 million or something like that in e-commerce, and like all of these really, really big e-commerce folks. And then Eric Huberman, always blanking on the guy's name. Sorry, Eric, from Hawk Media was on there, and he manages a lot of brands, like big e-commerce brands and stuff. And so the conversation's going on about, how some e-commerce brands. Well, first I'll share some interesting stats with you, by the way. The consumer, I'm doing this from memory, so it could be slightly wrong, and if it is, forgive me. The average consumer spending on e-com stuff, like buying toothpaste or t-shirts or whatever online, went from 13% in 2019 to 30 something percent in 2020, which obviously is not a surprise, because everyone had to stay home. Like you couldn't go to wherever you wanted to go. And even when you can, you don't want to because you got to wear the stupid mask and it's uncomfortable. Freaks me out anyway. Fogs up my glasses if I'm wearing them. So that's not a surprise, right? But interestingly enough, a lot of e-commerce companies were having trouble making ads work and stuff. So the conversations like going on and on about that, and it was very fascinating to hear like these big companies, talk about challenges of advertising and all of this sort of stuff. So I'm just sort of soaking it up. And then for whatever reason, they invited me to be on the panel. So I'm like, okay. And so I used my opportunity there to not try to pretend like I knew what I was talking about, but to ask them a question. Okay. And I want to tell you the story behind the question. And this is ultimately leading to the highly likely fact, and of course I can't substantiate this opinion, so it's really my strong belief that what you have up here is more valuable than you might realize. Okay, so that's where I'm going with this whole thing. All right, so I get made the panelist or whatever you call it in this Clubhouse room. And so I'm going to ask a question, And so the story that precedes the question is this. I deliberately went to the following major e-commerce, like super successful brands, and did two things. Number one, I started to check out and then I left. Okay, that's thing number one. Thing number two is I came back using a different email address and bought something. All right. And so I'm going by memory. I know there's more of them than this, but going by memory, I did it with Huda Beauty, the makeup company. None of the makeup did anything for this. I still look like myself. I probably should have gotten different toner or something. Kidding. I got stuff for my wife. So I did it with Huda Beauty. I did it with Kylie. Kylie Cosmetics, bought the lip stuff for all the girls in the family. I did it with Goop, the Gwyneth Paltrow company. I did it with Harry's Razors. I did it with Allbirds, the shoe company. I did it with Vuori, which is a menswear company, which really good, like sitting around goofing off clothes, by the way. Awesome. All these brands are awesome. And I did it with another one. I mentioned Allbirds. I did it with Black Rifle Coffee Company. Okay, so all of these companies, I pretended I was going to buy something and then left and then bought stuff, right? And the reason I did it is I wanted to see, all right, what are these guys doing? Because they're making a bunch of money, and good for them. I'm glad they're making a bunch of money. So I'm like, what are we going to learn here? And I went through their sales process and everything. And here's what did not happen at all. Number one, no cart abandon sequence from anybody. So it wasn't like, hey, you started to check out, go back and check out, and you'll get a discount, like no deadline timer, like nothing. Oh, Snake River Farms was the other one's bugging me. Okay, they sell steak and stuff. Really good too. So none of that stuff, right? Absolutely no cart abandonment. But the even more shocking thing, all right, was that none of them email me with any degree of regularity. In fact, most of them don't email me at all, offering to sell me more stuff. And so, like, you're in marketing, right? Like, and you're in business, the hardest sale to make, the hardest possible sale to make is like the first one, to get a customer for the first time. And the easiest sale to make, is my stream breaking? I don't know. I hope not. The easiest sale to make is to someone who's already bought your stuff. So, never got follow-up stuff from Goop, never got it from Huda Beauty. Have yet to get it from Black Rifle Coffee Company, who I've ordered from twice. Great coffee, by the way. I think the only people, never got it from Harry's Razors. The only companies that have sent me follow-up emails have been Snake River Farms, Allbirds, and Vuori. All right, and that's the clothing line. Okay, and so here's what's really interesting. They're all generic, like new product announcement stuff, right? Like, Allbirds will say, hey, we have new tree runners or whatever. They're good shoes, by the way. All right. Or Snake River Farms will be like, hey, there's a special going on for Father's Day or Christmas or whatever. And so it's not like consistent. And Vuori will be like, hey, there's a new shirt out or something like that. Here's what's really interesting. Okay. All three of those companies are companies that I have repeatedly bought from. So not only am I a buyer, right, but I'm a buyer of like a lot of stuff. Like, so I bought for Allbirds, like the shoes. I bought 3 pairs, 4, 5 pairs for me. This is over 6 months. 5 pairs for myself, 1 pair for my man Roland Frazier. Okay, hyper buyer, like dream customer. With Vuori, I've bought like 8 of the same t-shirt. I do change clothes, by the way. I just bought 8 shirts that are black, like 4 pairs of pants, and like nothing. And Snake River Farms, we buy from them all the time. And we especially buy a lot of stuff because I'll cook these tomahawk steaks, which are really good from them. But a lot of times I'll take it out of the freezer and then I don't feel like cooking it because it takes an hour and a half to grill and the dang thing will end up going bad and I have to buy another one. I'm a hyper buyer. I never get follow-up emails from these guys. So now back to the Clubhouse discussion. All right. So I'm on there and I'm like, and a lot of the discussion is how can e-commerce brands make more money? So like, I'm like, guys, I'm not really an expert in e-com, so to speak, the selling of, toothpastes and widgets and razors and stuff, but I have a question and the question might lead to the answer here. And so I asked them, I told them the same story I told you, and I said, is it like frowned upon or something in e-commerce not to to send follow-up emails to your customers and try to get them to buy more stuff with any degree of regularity? Is it frowned upon to have an abandoned cart sequence and all of that kind of stuff? And all of the folks who were like super wealthy, I'm assuming, like they did really, really well, and I'm happy for them. None of them said anything. And the one dude who answered me was Eric Huberman, who owns a marketing agency called Hawk Media, really successful, really good agency, by the way. If you have a lot of money to spend on marketing, you might want to retain them. And he was like, he chimed in, he's like, yeah, dude, they just don't know. A huge part of our work that we do for clients is installing exactly what you said for them. And I was just like, kablamo. And so here's what's crazy. Okay, so Eric and I had that little dialogue, like 35 seconds. And that was it. And then the conversation did not go to like, well, how could we do this? What are the best practices or whatever? It started going to like, what kind of software do you like? And just random stuff. And so here's the thing. All these brands I talked about make like obnoxious amounts of money, right? All they would have to do, and like anybody watching this or listening to this or whatever would know the fundamental basics of how to create what I'm about to tell them to create. All they would have to do to dramatically raise revenue is have, number one, a countdown sequence for people who start to check out and don't. Incidentally, the majority of people who start to buy stuff in an online shopping environment leave. They do what's called abandoning the cart, right? So that's thing number one, like no brainer. It would take like an hour to do that drastic increase in revenue from doing that. It's free money, doesn't cost them anything, can't possibly hurt. The second thing that anybody participating in this conversation, listening, whatever, the second thing that anyone could do would be to regularly and like programmatically, and by that I mean, automate the process, like build out a follow-up sequence. That's like if a dude buys a pair of shoes, and that the dang, like Allbirds, for example, I'll wear mine out. They last like 3 months or something, but I wear them all the time. And, they're not bad shoes, but I need to replace them about every 90 days. Freaking email the dude every 90 days and go, hey, it's time to get a new pair of shoes, right? Black Rifle Coffee Company has to know how often a single individual, how long it takes them to go through a 1 pound bag of ground coffee. Why not program the thing out? Hey, you're probably running out of coffee. You want to re-up? Mindless. Okay, all of that stuff could be automated. And you, me, anybody, we could build this for these companies in minutes. I think the hardest part of the job, if you did it for a lot of money for them, would be to figure out how to make it look like it was hard for you to do. So you could justify a high fee. You'd be like, okay, this is going to be very difficult. It's going to take a lot of research. I'm probably going to need to get back with you in about 10 days when this is all done. And then, you go and spend an hour and build it. All right. So the way this directly correlates to you is that when I'm talking to people that know what they're doing and have been doing it for a long time and have been studying or participating in a certain area or certain topic for a long time, they forget that it has become their like area of expertise and assume that other people know what they know because it's so common to them. It's like if you speak one language as your first language, you're going to assume that someone else who speaks it might maybe even as their third or second language or whatever, knows about that language just as well as you do, but they just don't. And that doesn't mean they're dumb and they're bad. It's like, experts are experts for a reason. And so the stuff that you're forgetting and taking for granted probably, and I can't substantiate this because I don't know what every single person participating in what we're doing right now has to offer, but probably you're forgetting stuff that's valuable. Like you're so far ahead of your audience in terms of what you're able to contribute that the things that you're thinking aren't worth mentioning that are a given to them are like game changers. Case in point being, gosh, guys, maybe put in an abandoned cart sequence, Maybe you should email your customers and ask them, hey, did you like the shirt? Maybe you want another one. We got them in red, Crazy idea, right? So real world case study for you right there. I see it all the time. Guilty of it myself, by the way. Totally guilty of it myself. So I'm not ivory tower. You know what I mean? Nobody makes dumb mistakes as good as me. I'm the champion and the world champion at dumb assumptions and doing dumb things. So I've done this a zillion times. And I would assume that you might be doing the same thing. And if you are, you're so lucky, because that means that you've got a library of stuff you can help people with. So if you go back and you start thinking like, what do I assume people know that might not be helping them? Or that what am I assuming that they know that they probably don't know, rather, that if I shared it with them, it could really, really be helpful. And you just make a list of it and start sharing it with your marketplace. You'll probably go over really, really well in doing that. You'll help them using the oldest trick in the book, the old demonstrate you can help people by helping people. And the more people you help, the bigger your brand gets and the better life is. And you end up selling more stuff because they already know you, like you, and trust you. If you want to learn how to do that systematically, beautiful segue into a pitch, by the way. Go to, I think it's on the screen there, letslaunchyourbrand.com. That's a free 5-day challenge. It starts on Friday, the 15th. Is that right? Yeah, the 15th of January. Okay, so we're coming up in 2 days? I'm pretty sure today is Wednesday. So it starts on Friday, the 15th of January. And I hope to see you there. There is zero cost for registration and zero cost to participate. So it's pretty good. I'll help you find the stuff that's most valuable to your marketplace, and I'll help you get it out there to them as a means of building your brand based on goodwill and being helpful and being cool. All right, it's time for me to go. I got to do me some work. Y'all take it easy.